Hello friends, today we'll study about the birth of Indian nationalism and foundation of Indian National Congress. As the British extended their empire over India, there was a feeling of resentment amongst the people which was very sudden. It was based on their perception that the new rulers were responsible for their economic hardship. They also felt that they were being looked down upon in their own country and their way of life was being threatening because the opportunities available to them for the advancement they were insufficient. The lower strata of the social and economic hierarchy they expressed their resentment by sporadic uprisings like we studied about them in earlier lectures. These were often directed against the immediate exploitators. As we studied, they were directed against zamindars, the sabukars, the tax collectors. But broadly speaking, these were they were against the British system. The intensity of discontent against the foreign rule became visible through these uprisings, and in fact the Great Revolt of 1857 itself in a way sprang up as an outburst of the accumulated discontent of the masses in different parts of the country. So let us discuss the background and causes of birth of Indian nationalism and foundation of Indian National Congress in the light of the prevalent condition in the country at those times. The first reason was the failure of revolt of 1857 and the emergence of new middle class. The failure of revolt revealed the inadequacy of the traditional method of protest. It also showed the old aristocratic class could not be the savior of Indian society. So, therefore, the English educated Indian middle class seemed to the hope of this future. So Indian middle class rise to the platform. This class was conscious of benefits of British connection. What were these benefits of British connections? Well, these groups they adopted a very positive approach towards the colonial rule. They early realized that since India had come under the rule of most advanced country in this world, so India would highly be benefited with such connection. How come? That India might turn into a major industrial power with its immense natural and human resources, or as Britain was familiar with it was a land of liberal ideas, and so they also think that if we are connected with world's most advanced country of date, then we'll be also getting familiar with the European liberal ideas which might be later on introduced in the country. And at the same time, this middle class, it had the sense of pride, and it had pride in the glorious past of the country, and it gradually developed a connection that foreign domination was inherently opposed to the fulfillment of the legitimate hopes and aspiration of the Indian people, though they were like they understood that there are certain positives, but these positives were coming along with some inherent negatives. So they have to strike a balance between these positive and negatives. Positives, as I told you, that new liberal ideas and industrialization and modernization. But again, Britishers were only thinking about their economic interest. So these ideas of industrialization, modernization and liberalization, they were not the main aim for these Britishers. So their economic interest and their political interests were inherently opposed to these three ideas as I described to you. So the foundation of Indian national movement, you can say, it was led by the emerging group of this modern intelligentsia. This neo-social class New social class means new social class, which included the middle class like Indian traders, business communities, landlords, moneylenders, educated Indians. They were recruited in the lower post, these educated Indians. Now, each group, though they had different interests, the traders had different interests, this moneylender was having different interests with the social surroundings, the educated Indians who were employed in the British India administration, they were having their own inherent interest. They realized that their interest could not be whatever XYZ their interest is. They could not be protected under the British rule. These groups had taken a leading role in developing a sense of patriotism among the people. The consciousness of this new social class found expression in the formation of a number of associations prior to the founding of All India National Congress, as we discussed in our last discussion. Ultimately, the Indian National Congress emerged as a platform for the organization of national movement. In the beginning, middle class agitation was confined to ventilating of some specific and political and economic grievances and demand, because these educated Indians, they believed, as I told you earlier, they believed that for some times their grievances would be redressed by their benevolent rulers. If their rulers know about their real position, or if Indians could draw their attention towards them, so there will be a redressal of the Indian grievances. But, however, this stage was to be left behind after some time, because British people they are not paying any attention, or they are not actually looking for any welfare for the Indian people. The second reason for rise of Indian nationalism is political and administrative unity. One of the significant results of the British conquest of India was the establishment of a centralized state. Now, this centralized state, brought about a political and administrative unification of country. So the pre-British India, as we know, it was divided into numerous feudal states, frequently struggling amongst themselves to extend their boundaries. But British authority, it established a centralized state structure in India with a uniform reign of law. These are the points I'm writing, so you can recall them after you are having this slide. Uniform reign of law. They enacted the codified laws which were applicable to every citizen of state. These laws were enforced by the hierarchical graded system of courts and tribunals. The public service, third point is, the public service is also, this public services also played an important role in the political and administrative unity of country. These services brought about the administrative unification of the country, the establishment of uniform currency system, common administration, common laws, common judicial structure that contributed to India's unification, which ultimately helped the rise of national consciousness. The third such reason for the development of nationalism in India was use of English language in Western education. Introduction of Western education, as I told you, it was another factor which paved the way for growth of nationalism. The three main agencies were responsible for spread of modern education in India. They were foreign Christian missionaries, and British government and the progressive Indians like Raja Ram Mohan Rai and uh, many other amongst them. The British government was principal agent of disseminating the modern liberal and technical education in India. This government established a network of schools and colleges in India which turned out a number of educated Indians well versed in modern knowledge. The introduction of modern education in India was primarily motivated by their own political interest, administrative interest, and economic needs of British in India. How come? The British government assigned various key posts of the administrative machinery to English people, and the clerical and inferior post was filled by these English educated subordinate Indians who were taught this English just so that they can be helpful to carry their administrative day-to-day work in subordinate positions. Actually, the old system of education was only perpetuating the superstition and orthodoxy in India. English education was treated as a treasure of scientific and democratic thought of the West. English educated Indians like I told you, Raja Ram Mohan Rai, Vivekanand, Gokhale, Dadabhai Naoroji, and Firoz Shah Mehta, Surendranath Banerjee, they all led the social, religious and political movements in India, and they all were English educated, so they felt the need that English to be introduced in order to introduce the thought process in India to bring Indians out of the grasp of this superstition and orthodoxy. And later on, this English language became the medium of communication amongst the educated Indians by which they could develop close contacts with one another. They also came in contact with Western ideas, culture and institutions through the medium of English language. It helped to build a democratic and rationalistic outlook. Ideas of nationalism, ideas of democracy, liberty, equality could infiltrate it to India just because of this English language. Philosophical ideas of Milton, J.S. Mill, Thomas Paine, Mazzini, John Locke, it all helped the growth of national consciousness, and all because of use of this English language and the ideas that infiltrated into India through this language, the modern ideas which I just told you about. Okay, now moving on. The development of transport and means of communication was another such factor in the and cause for the rise of nationalism in India. Modern means of transport helps in consolidation of people into modern nations. In India too, the establishment of railways, construction of roads, canals, organization of postal and telegraph, wireless services all over India contributed to in forging the people into one nation. Of course, all these facilities were developed in the interest of British industries and for their own political and administrative and military reasons, but they simultaneously helped Indian people to be united as one, to interconnect with each other and to know what is happening in one part of country and the reaction can be seen in another part of country. However, these modern means of communication, as I told you, they helped the growth of political and cultural life on a national scale. It promoted the organization and functioning of a number of political organizations like Indian National Congress, All India Kisan Sabha, Youth League, All India Trade Union Congress, etc. Railways, that was the single entity which made it possible for the people of different town, villages, districts to meet, to exchange views and to decide upon programs for the nationalist movements. Without the modern means of transport, as you are aware, no national conference could have been held. So, the emergence of modern press was another such factor in rise of and the cause of rise of nationalism in India. As a powerful social institution, the press facilitates the exchange of thought on a mass scale, and that too within a short period of time. The introduction of printing press in India was such an event of revolutionary significance. Raja Mohan Rai, Ram Mohan Rai was you can say he was the founder of nationalist press in India. His Sambad Kaumudi, Kaumudi, sorry, Sambad Kaumudi in Bengali. It was published in 1821, and Miratul Akbar in Persian published in 1822. Miratul Akbar 1822. So they were amongst the first publication with a distinct nationalistic and democratic progressive orientation. And British policies, they were blamed for the deteriorating and economic conditions of the people, and the need to use Swadeshi goods was also emphasized through these Indian printing and modern press. The need to use, as I told you, use Swadeshi goods, these ideas found expression in some drama and performances also. And one of the well-known plays which became popular around 1860s, it was Neel Darpan. It was written by Deen Bandhu Mitra. This play was, written in Bengali, which this play actually highlighted the plight of the indigo peasants, the atrocities they committed by the indigo planters. So, another examples can be given by Bankim Chatterjee, who wrote historical novels highlighting the tyranny of the colonial rule. His very famous novel of this, Anand Mat, that contained the immortal song Bande Matram. That was also the production of this era of modern press. Now, another reason for rise of nationalism in India was the economic exploitation. Actually, it was the worst feature of British rule in India, that economic exploitation of all classes. Britishers came into India as traders, and their primary motive was how to gain financial benefits. The Industrial Revolution in Britain, it necessitated the import of raw material from different foreign countries and to search extensive markets for their goods outside England. India provided both of them, both as market and as well as raw material. Please bear with my handwriting, try to understand that. This British government, it maintained its civil services and military forces at the coast of India. Attempt was made to destroy the indigenous Indian industries to expand the public demand for British industrial goods in place of the indigenous Indian goods. While heavy import duties were put on Indian goods to restrict their entries into British market, but there was free trade policy for the transactions of the raw material or British goods in India. आप हमारे यहाँ अपनी चीजें नहीं बेच सकते. We will be imposing great duties, but we can trade in your country without duties or free duties. Our leaders like Dada Bhai Naraji, Mahadev, Gobind Ranade, G.K. Gokhale, they all analyzed the economic impact of colonial rule in India. Economic exploitation to such a high extent had great repercussion on the growth of Indian nationalism, and people agitated against the foreign government. So the true nature of British government as they revealed under this economic exploitation, that also helped and fueled the Indian nationalism's rise. Another such factor was revival of glorious Indian heritage. Hitherto, we Indians were marred with the inferiority complex. Even today, even most of us are, you can say, infected by the colonial mindset that British and foreigners, white body people especially, are superior to us and all. Actually, when Indians were developing a sense of inferiority complex, being exploited under the colonial rule, this glorious heritage of India was revived by some Western scholars like Max Muller and Max Muller, William Jones, and Charles Wilkins. These scholars, they unearthed the Indian glorious heritage. They translated they translated some Sanskrit text into English, and they attempted to prove the supremacy of ancient Indian culture, its heritage, its philosophy. Some Indian scholars as well, like R.G. Bhandarkar, H.P. Shastri they also helped in reviving the past glory of India. All these helped in regenerating the sense of self-confidence and patriotism amongst the people, who until this day they were feeling so much inferior, and they have imbibed the thought that okay, Britishers are superior to us in every sense. So friends, we have discussed only 7 of the reasons among the reasons which were responsible for the rise of nationalism in India. In next lecture, we will be discussing more of them, and I thank you for bearing with me. I know this this is sort of little bow, but this is actually important part of the various examinations. So you have to cope with me, and till then, till my next video, try to visit our website as well to get some more stuff up regarding your examination, and do like our Facebook page. Thank you. Bye bye.